Hey guys, Johnny Quirk back once again here to support your entrepreneurial journey. Okay, cool. So today I'm delighted to say that we have Christina Voll, the founder of Rise Remotely on the line. Christina, great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm delighted to have you here today because you really are living the complete digital nomad remote lifestyle. And that's because when I chatted with you originally, you were in Colombia after you've been in Ecuador for quite a while. You're currently sat in Greece today, and you will be on your way to Spain hopefully soon. And let's be
Hopefully.
honest, this is all pretty impressive considering we're in the middle of a global pandemic as well. So it seems like the pandemic hasn't slowed you down too much, but obviously we'll dig into that and obviously, like what's going to come out of the pandemic for other keen to be digital nomads in the future. But first off, how we always start on the Go Solo show, please, in your own words, would you describe your business? Tell us what it is and what it is that it does.
Definitely. I just launched Rise Remotely in January, and it's an e-commerce storefront for online education to either help you go remote or work better remotely. So we have a variety of different resources from one-on-one coaching and mentoring to ebooks to live sessions, traditional online courses, hybrid, a variety of different learning materials to help you at every hyper-specific stage of the journey to remote work success. So that means whether you want to become a freelancer, a remote worker, an online business owner, or you just want to maybe change your career and you're not exactly sure where to start out, we help you align your business goals with your passions, and we do it all remotely.
That sounds amazing. And to be quite honest, I'm keen myself because I think it kind of is the dream to be able to travel the world and work at the same time. So obviously you've dug a little bit deeper into the product there and obviously what you offer. Are these, one-time only downloads of these digital services? Is it a subscription base? Like, do you have, obviously you've only just launched, but, is the plan to have people on like a retainer in terms of they subscribe, or are they literally just one-time resources?
So, like I said, we have a variety. So, a lot of our courses and resources, because they are a lot to deal with career changes and kind of leveling up your career, a lot of them are either 4-week trainings or 8-week trainings, somewhere in between. We also just have one-off downloadable ebooks. You pay, you get the ebook directly. We have one-on-one coaching sessions where it can be a one-off session or a variety of. We have 5 sessions, but we're also working on different packages. So that's kind of where our products lie, but we're also working on creating an online community. We're actually giving the first spots away for free.
Yeah.
So that people will get forever free access, and it's still available. So we could drop the link in this podcast. And then, so it's still available for forever free access, but later on, that's also going to be a paid service as well. And that will include a lot of additional resources, live sessions, like training material from the coaches, from the instructors, and from Rise Remotely itself.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And do you know what? I mean, I think the community obviously is going to be so strong as well, because I guess, being part of a global community of digital nomads and people who are doing this is going to be so important, I guess, as people travel around the world as well.
Yeah, definitely. I found that so many people need other people's opinions and experiences, especially with traveling now with COVID. It's super important
Yeah, yeah.
to get that one-on-one
And I guess it,
connection.
and I guess it changes all the time as well. I guess everybody wants to know the best way of doing things currently. I guess whether that's places to live, and we're going to dig a bit deeper into that later on. The best places globally for remote working, but also maybe like up-to-date software or like ways of doing things, hiring remote staff. Whatever that takes. I guess this is a multifaceted puzzle as well. And if I was going to take one of your 4 to 8 week courses, let's say I'd want to do the 4 week course. I'm interested in that. What is included in that package? You know what I mean? Like, is it a mixture of digital and the what coaching? I know obviously you've said a few things. I'm just interested to know if I was like, I want to go to Mexico City and work now, like what would I get in that 4 week package?
We have over 40 courses and resources, free and paid. So it really varies. I'm not talking about any specific one at the moment, but generally, if it's for more than I guess like 3 or 4 weeks, we generally have a hybrid option. So a hybrid course description. So it's basically we have forms of one-on-one calls with the instructor generally, and then in addition to that, we have assignments, we have accountability check-ins, we have really whatever the course instructor has created to make the course really relevant and engaging for the student. Of course, we do have some stuff that is going to take a little bit longer, maybe like an 8-week training program that doesn't have those options, but it's more technical and it will give you a step-by-step. And then we have more options that are really based on weekly one-on-one calls for 8 weeks with the instructors. Yeah. So it really depends on the nature of what the course is and how the instructor created it.
And it sounds like you've created all sorts of assets as well. I know obviously you said you've recently launched, but it seems like there's been a lot of preparation that's obviously gone into this launch. A couple of questions, I guess, to follow up on this is the first thing is like, who are your instructors? Are they part of the team? Are they freelance? In terms of building out the assets, where did you start? I think you said you have 40 videos or courses or bundles. Where did you start with that kind of planning as well?
So the idea sparked sometime probably in the beginning of 2020 and the end of 2019, somewhere around there. I remember in November of 2019, I bought the domain name, and this was coming from 6 years of freelancing in digital marketing. And I was really feeling that I wanted to create something more impactful than just, doing marketing strategy after marketing strategy. Even though I love that, I also wanted just to expand a little bit more. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to be in the remote workspace because it was so new, and it's something that I never worked in a 9-to-5. I never worked in office. So it's something that I figured I knew a lot about.
Yeah, a real kind of passion of yours to actually just get out there and do it.
Yeah, it's really all I've ever known. So that's so it didn't really spark until at that time, I was kind of transitioning in from freelancing to mentoring. I first started with how to become a digital nomad, but then I realized that was a little bit too broad. So I went more specifically into how to become a successful freelancer. I started mentoring about that. And it was discovery call after discovery call that I found that there were so many people that needed different things. So people were asking me about visa requirements to go to Dubai and get their company to switch to remote for them, and so they could travel to Dubai with their 2 kids. And me just being a freelancer, I was like, I can't really help you with this, but I want to help you with this. There was so many people coming to me, and I had my depth of knowledge in freelancing, but I couldn't help all of them at once. So that's how the idea sparked, and that's why I created the team behind Rise Remotely. So the course instructors, the creators on the platform are people in the remote workspace. That's where a lot of the building of the platform came into play. I spent nearly a year where I scaled back my freelancing and my mentoring to really connect with these people, to build the platform itself as well. I did literally everything myself. So that's also why it took a year. So I used this year to connect with everybody, and a lot of them reached out to me. I reached out to a lot of them. It was kind of 50-50. And yeah, it's a really great team of instructors. I've also figured the remote workspace is really small. A few of them have introduced me to other instructors. A few of them have been speaking in events alongside with me and alongside with other instructors, and they've had calls with each other. They know who each other are. It's been really cool for sure.
It seems like, you've got a massive smile on your face. For anybody who's listening on the audio podcast, it seems like Christina's found her thing, which is great, doing it. But we interview all sorts of people on the show. It can be anybody who teaches coaching, yoga instructors, whatever, really. Anybody who's running like a service-based business. And I think they have either fallen into it through a real passion to live that lifestyle, i.e. that's what really gets them out of bed in the morning. But also, they've kind of also got some experience in that kind of field, but also want to make it their lifestyle. That's pretty much sounds like it is for yourself, as well as what I'm saying here is, as well as obviously you running Rise Remotely, it doesn't sound like you're ever going to stop traveling the world for a certain amount of time. And I think you need to be that kind of thought leader on that part. Are you planning on being a digital nomad for a long time now?
Well, my boyfriend and I have been trying to settle down in Spain for the last 3 years, and it hasn't really been working. So by nature, both of us, yeah, we're really free spirited. We really love travel and everything. But it is kind of interesting how now the pandemic and not being able to travel so easily has kind of put things into perspective, and I do want to settle down, plant some roots, but of course, I'm not going to go years without traveling. I still think it's super important to travel, to have new experiences, everything like that.
I think that's the beauty of how you can maybe evolve this company as well. By the way, everybody, we're not doing some brainstorming session now, do you mean? But it's almost like how, even if you do become, say, rooted, that you can then go off and take mini vacations or mini holidays or working vacations as well. Like myself, I'll put it in my perspective, with my wife and kids, it's kind of looking like, in the summer holidays, there is 5 to 6 weeks where we actually have flexibility. And we would be very keen on finding out how easy it would be to, decamp to somewhere else in the world if we could work remotely and kind of do that, because you have these opportunities, you don't want to be around. So I can kind of see where you can be, like maybe having to be constantly on the road, but actually you're able to kind of build out more lifestyle packages as well and say, this is what you could do here, or have an alternative Christmas vacation, like working vacation or whatever. The world is a big place, I guess, and it's not all, everybody has different festivals and festivities and cultures and weather and stuff like that, so you can kind of travel the world really and follow the sun.
Exactly, it's true. And even I've seen a lot of people do it with their kids as well, and it's really interesting. Like you can convert a van and go that way. You can, like you were saying, kind of have a base and then do more staycations that are a little bit more in the terms of slow traveling, because there really is no rules with remote work where you need to be generally, unless of course you have a different setup and your company requires you to be in the US or something like that. But yeah, so there's really so many options.
That is the dream. And I think actually, I don't think I probably know the answer to this, which I was going to ask, why has remote working got so popular over the last few years? But I mean, it seems almost like we live in this kind of world now where, we've got amazing Wi-Fi, like we have, communities, like you said, have grown up to support. There is software available for if people obviously need to start a website easily or whatever. You don't feel like you're kind of tied. But do you think it's obviously going to really, do you think you're at the zeitgeist here? Do you think it's really going to blow up in terms of post-pandemic? Do you think we're going to see people say, I've been so stuck here staring at the same 4 walls forever that I'm on the way? Or, I'm interested to know where you think the trends are going to go with obviously remote working.
Yeah, I think that is going to continue to grow. I think that education for how to transition to remote, how to work better remotely is going to be really a crucial thing that people need, because remote work is great, but remote work that's not implemented properly can be worse almost. Like it's, if you are taking what you were using in the office and traditionally, and those things weren't working, and you bring it remote and you create more stress on your employees, or you are a freelancer and you're trying to manage different time zones, whatever, like things can get really messy if it's not implemented properly. But with that aside, overall, I definitely think that it's going to continue to grow. I actually saw an article today. I think it was a poll on Instagram or something like that, but it was with Bloomberg, and Bloomberg posted it, and it was saying that people would rather quit than go back to the office. So people actually quit their jobs when they said that they had to go back to the office. So the people who hadn't had a chance to work remotely ever before. Even my mom, she actually had a lot of office politics in her job when she was working. And then her company went remote forever. And she's so happy. And she's like, I can just stay home and what are my plans, and like not have to deal with office politics. So she never hated her job. She just didn't like going into the office. So there's a lot of things like that. And I think a lot of people are realizing they at least got the opportunity to test remote work and then compare to what a 9 to 5 is. And I think a lot of people are going to say, you know what, remote work makes a lot more sense. Let's stick with it. And it's going to continue to grow.
It does. And I mean, there are many kind of like knock-on benefits as well, you know, like not only from a personal human being, like the kind of commuting, like you said, office politics, having to be in one location, having to take a fixed lunch break or whatever, you know, having that kind of flexibility. I guess even for the environment, it's a good thing, you know. I mean, I guess you know, I mean, you don't have to take as many trains or cars or whatever. I guess the flip side is if we all become digital nomads and we're flying massive planes across the world to go and work in like Bangkok or wherever. But do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I think there has got to be knock-on benefits to actually, you know, like the move to home, as long as we, I think, get the balance right in terms of not constantly being on as well.
Yeah, I think also with that is going to be the rise of slow travel as well. It's already happened naturally for me as a digital nomad. For over 6 years, I naturally gravitated then towards slow travel because I was just realistically tired of like going on bus, on plane, on train, like constantly. It was too much. So instead of, you know, planning to go 1 month here, 1 month there, although I am kind of contradicting myself because I have been doing more fast travel in the last couple of months. But generally I prefer to, you know, stay somewhere for 2, 3 months and really kind of just soak up that place, create your experiences there. And then you kind of connect a little bit more with that place as well, the locals there, people that you meet there. And I think that's also going to take off as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, I'm going to quickly get some URL domain kind of saved for that. It's like slow travel times remote or something like that. So
yeah,
it's a good thing. And beyond potentially the fact that, you know, whether you say you're an office worker working the remote life or whether you're a digital nomad running your own gig, do you think there are many downsides to, say, being a digital nomad? You know, like obviously we just mentioned kind of always feeling like you're being on, you know, like the maybe I've got to reply to that Slack message or WhatsApp, or, you know, you've got to fit in. But do you see many downsides from your experience? I mean, I guess, is that maybe some of the stuff your courses maybe help solve?
Yeah, definitely. I'm co-creating a course right now. It's going to be ready in the next few months with another mentor on the platform, and we have actually the last chapter kind of dedicated to it. It's about aligning your passions with your business goals, whether you're a freelancer or an entrepreneur. And so we take you through a lot of content about marketing, about like finding your whys, finding your business idea, and actually establishing a brand around it. And the last chapter is all about kind of taking all of that and using it for a digital nomad lifestyle. And so I get very real in it, and I talk about all of the hardships I encountered. I found that, you know, for example, building a community is definitely something that I would advise any new digital nomads to really kind of take that into consideration, because I was backpacking, like traveling, going here and there, all over. I made a lot of friends, but not as many that I can, you know, really call close friends now. And really just, even if like I do have close friends, they're all over the world. So it's very hard to see them regularly. So things like that, finding kind of a sense of community. But with there's so many new co-living opportunities and digital nomad kind of retreats and experiences nowadays, that's really taking off. We're collaborating with a lot of cool brands that are offering those as well. So that's kind of a great fix to something that I felt in the past 7 years was a little bit shy. There wasn't that many opportunities. And then in the past few years, it's definitely been growing and growing, and that's a great fix to that problem. But yeah, there's definitely a few things. Like, you do have to be very organized. Sometimes, especially if you're an entrepreneur online, you really have to have a lot of tenacity. You really have to be like, okay, I am going to do this by just sitting here at my laptop. So yeah, it's definitely not easy, but it's not like, I think the benefits outweigh the cons for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And obviously you'd say that as well, you know, but you know, like, you know, in terms of the lifestyle you've been living, you know, you've really lived through that as well. I mean, it's interesting. I lived out in India about, gosh, about 12 years ago now. And, you know, my girlfriend at the time was now my wife. We were traveling around the country, and we were there for about 6 months. And, you know, there didn't seem to be like this kind of community network, which I believe there is now. But, you know, like when we would go from town to town, it would be random people you would bump into and maybe have a beer with or something. But didn't tend to be any community hubs or whatever. Whereas that does seem to be the way things are going now. The world has definitely become a smaller place. So, you know, you can kind of feel that sense of belonging wherever you go. And, you know, I guess you'll bump into people doing the same kind of route as well. I'm really interested to ask about your background. I mean, you know, do you come from an entrepreneurial, you know, family yourself? You know, like, you know, I'm interested to know, like, I know you've always done freelancing. I think you said you've done that for about 7 years now, and you've been again able to build that into your lifestyle. But, you know, like, have you got like a family of entrepreneurs, or what maybe gave you the entrepreneurial bug to say, I'm going to do Rise Remotely?
So my dad is an entrepreneur. He, in a completely different niche, he started a company for building controls and analytics, but it started at like HVAC installation, and then it progressed into more like control wiring, sorry, and installation, and they do a lot of like building automation. So it's hard for me to even describe because it's really technical. But yeah, so obviously completely different than marketing. But yeah, he is an entrepreneur. He built that essentially from the ground up. So it was always great to have that figure in my life, that inspiration, definitely. And then always, even when I was in high school, I was part of a business club called DECA. And you basically went in, dressed up in business formal attire, and you presented a business in front of judges in a mock role play, and then you were graded, and then you could go to a conference in the US and then compete again for that. So I was in that in high school as well. And then by the time I got to university, I knew I wanted to go into marketing, so it kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, definitely, it was always great to have my dad to kind of give me some business advice, for sure.
Yeah, that's really good. And I guess that's kind of, you know, almost like this self-actualization now of you starting this business has happened because, like you said, it seems like you followed on that kind of trail that maybe one day you would always have your own business as well. Beyond obviously your family, you know, do you have any other kind of strong support network in terms of, you know, like I know obviously you said on a remote level you have, and you've met people, but, you know, have you actively pursued building a strong network of different people who can help support this business get off the ground? You know, I'm talking like, you know, accountants, public speaking, people who've been there and done it before. And I'm interested to know what your support network is like.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm needing to grow it for sure. I did have a mentor, but she got pregnant. So at the moment she's, we're not working together. Yeah, exactly. But I'm actually actively looking for a new one because I think it's always super important, especially if you're doing mentoring, to have your own. But yeah, it's also something that I wish I got into a little bit earlier. I have some friends that are also entrepreneurs that are also I have some friends, like one of my good friends, also a digital marketing freelancer. So we have really great conversations and sometimes butt heads about strategies, but for the most part, it's good. My boyfriend also, we've been dating for like 6 years now. So he's an osteopath, but he's put all of his courses online and started selling them. So he's also an entrepreneur as well. So having a few people close to me really helped, but I do think that it's important to really address that as soon as you kind of get into entrepreneurship, because I feel like it wouldn't have taken me a year maybe if I had a little bit more support as well, to launch Rise Remotely. And I'm realizing the super important value of it as well now.
Brilliant. That sounds really cool. And again, I always ask this question because, you know, quite a few people, again, like yourself, have said, I am working on it, but I didn't have it maybe first. Or some people have said, yeah, you know, I've gone from having a similar job to doing this myself, but I've got the network from that as well. But I think the most important thing is having that support network is so strong, and also having those people you can, you know, tap into whenever you need to as well for a bit of advice, support, just to kind of keep you grounded as well. Because, you know, running a business, no matter what it is, is hard work, you know, and again, you know, you need to
Yeah,
kind of have that support as well on the journey. Very
definitely.
cool. And it sounds like an amazing business opportunity. It sounds like you've got some amazing potential customers out there in the world. But this is the kind of section on the show where I now kind of like dig a bit deeper in terms of maybe some of your top tips around your industry as well. So, you know, I'm thinking for a lot of people, you know, they could become a digital nomad once this pandemic ends. But I was interested if you could maybe give me some tips. Like, say, let's just put myself out here now. I want to go and run my business somewhere else in the world, you know, could be anywhere.
Mhm.
How long do you think I should be planning before I go? You know, like any kind of tips or anything, you know, like that I should probably get right before I go? You know, I'm not planning on selling the house or renting it out tomorrow, but you know, like what would be the kind of optimum time, would you say, to get yourself sorted? You know, like how much planning should be done about where you're going? Those sorts of things, really, if I was starting from zero, but knew that I wanted to become a digital nomad.
Yeah, so definitely the kind of, I guess, hardest part of our sales is also understanding where people are in that transition, because a lot of people is completely unique to any person.
Yeah.
Depends how financially secure they are. Have they been working a 9 to 5 for a long time? Are they just coming out of university and have student loans? So it really depends. But definitely, of course, if you're kind of in a financially good place, to know that you can support yourself. You don't have to have a ton of savings, but just know that obviously you have to have that kind of, I like that realistic view of, okay, I'm going to be spending this much money generally, and I have this much saved. And if you, let's say, are starting to become a freelancer, you can expect maybe in the first few months that maybe you won't make any money, but you'll be putting in the hours to work on your personal brand, to find clients, to possibly work for free or a very small wage to gain experience if you're just starting out. So having that kind of realistic like viewpoint on your money is really important, because then you don't have this forever ongoing pressure of, oh, I need to make money, I need to make money, because ironically sometimes that actually like stops you from making money because you're so fixated on it. So as long as you're comfortable and you can go into that, so it depends obviously per person, but you know, you can start out and maybe get your first client within a few months, and then some people maybe it will be a year. It really depends. For me, I had gone on a trip with some people 7 years ago before digital nomadism kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And they were all digital nomads. So I came back and I was still in university and I really wanted to become a digital nomad. And so I actually was applying to all these jobs. I had no experience really. And I got a job offer shortly after that trip, because I was like really trying to apply to so many jobs. And at this time it was like next to impossible to find a remote job posting, even like it wasn't remote job boards and everything. So yeah, but for me it happened really quickly. So I got this job, and of course I agreed to take a lower wage because I didn't have that much experience. And then it ended up being a client that I kept for 4 years, and of course my wage went up, and I grew their brand, and they trained me, and then I was learning so much that I was also then really helping them almost like a consultant. So
Brilliant.
it really, as soon as you get kind of your first client, or you get like your first sale, or if you're an online entrepreneur, you put your website out, you start getting the leads in. As soon as you kind of start getting that traction, it can go really, really fast. But of course, you always have to account at least a few months if you're making the transition to know that maybe you're going to be working and not getting paid. But I think it really goes with your mindset too. If you're okay with that and you're not putting pressure on yourself, and you think it's all part of the journey, okay, this is okay with me. I'm financially secure. I'm mentally secure. I'm not putting this crazy pressure. Then it generally goes a little bit faster, I would say.
So maybe give yourself 3 to 4 months of savings if you can do, maybe to get yourself going once you're actually
Mhm.
out somewhere. And I guess maybe you could do some of this, you know, preparation work before you were to leave. You know, you could maybe find a client or build a website or start a social account or something like that.
Yeah, generally, I suggest people to do as much as they can while maybe they're still working their 9 to 5. And kind of, if they can, sometimes I've worked with people that have then worked their 9 to 5 full time and then scaled down to part time, and still at the same time were naturally building everything. And then they were really happy then in a comfortable position to kind of then just let go of their 9 to 5 job and transition naturally into freelancing. So yeah, I think it will be a little bit of an uncertainty in, the first few months, the first 6 months, let's say. But if you look at the big picture, what is 6 months compared to your whole life? And, being able to drastically change your life in that amount of time is actually not long at all. Because then if you're set up as a freelancer or have your own business or a remote worker, then you have your whole life ahead of you to be able to be remote, and it's amazing. So
Of course, that sounds amazing. And also, I can again feel your passion coming through for this lifestyle, though, which is great. Boring question for you, but like in terms of logistics, like taxes, stuff like that, like when you're on the road, how do you handle these sorts of things? I mean, is it depending on how much time you spend in each country, or like where you're paying your taxes? Or I'm just interested to know how, like, any legal or accounting stuff kind of catches up with you, like, or I guess you have to register your business somewhere as well, maybe to start off with.
Definitely. Yeah, so I'm all registered in Canada. So I pay my taxes through the Canadian government and everything. But yeah, I'm always keeping track of everything. And generally, I'm in countries as a tourist. So generally, taxes don't apply.
And is that what you actually do, is literally, and again, don't worry, no like FBI listening or anything like this.
Yeah,
so, but
I'm not a tax specialist, so I can't give you the best advice for that.
No, I'm just interested in how that works. We had someone who actually digital nomad who was on the show about 12 episodes ago. He runs a property development business, but he's actually able to do that while living on a boat in Spain and traveling around the coast. But again, he's like, well, we can only spend some time in this country and some time in this country, because he's like, working, but he's also a tourist as well at the same time. So I guess there's quite a lot of overlap. It's like, you're not like actually going there and becoming a citizen or getting a visa. You're doing kind of like what you need to do and working up against the amount of time you're allowed to spend there as well.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's also why there's a huge increase now in digital nomad visas for different countries, because it was kind of, especially when I was starting out, like I couldn't really understand taxes because I was getting paid from a client in Israel and I was in Spain and I was registered in Canada. So I was like, how do I even put these together? So it was actually super confusing. And I was a little bit lost, but now actually we have a tax specialist on the platform. And she is a great resource. The content she puts out, the courses that she has, it's like a godsend. Yeah. So yeah, definitely there's a lot of resources out there for that now. But yeah, I'm registered in Canada, and also just naturally, because I was kind of not living the same lifestyle as everybody else, a lot of people would ask me, is it expensive traveling around and going on flights all the time and staying in Airbnbs and everything? So I was personally just curious, and also just out of best practices. So I would always be writing out all of my expenses and everything. So that also helped as well. And then once you are registered, you can write some stuff off and everything. So I think just if you're unsure, being as organized as you can and keeping track of, what goes in, what goes out, everything like that is super important. I guess. And then
I was just saying, a good thing, I guess, like as you've unlocked this over the last 7 years, it's almost like you uncover a problem, you can't find an easy way to solve somewhere. So this is why you either write an article or build a course for it or something, because if you're having that issue, there might be 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people out there trying to find the same information as well.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, as long as you have, an idea of everything that you made and who you made it from and everything, then if you're unsure, definitely I suggest going to a specialist. also there's so many options about where to register your business, like how to take advantage of different tax systems, things like that. And like a lot of people are registering their businesses in places that they're not residing in now and stuff. So there's like an insane amount of options what you can do.
I believe Lithuania, I think, is quite popular at the moment for digital nomads. I think, Estonia as well, I think, in terms of some of the tech things being in the EU as well. So yeah, it's a whole new world and an exciting one. Now, it's a serious business. We're all obviously doing work on the road. We're doing that. But obviously, sometimes there can be some temptations when you're out there. I'm expecting maybe, you're in Athens now. You'll be going for some amazing Greek food later. When you're in Spain, you'll be wanting to go to tapas bars in the sun or whatever. But, how do you stay balanced when you're actually working on the road? Like, not to let almost like feeling like you're on holiday take control. I guess there's some people you see on the road who maybe aren't fully maybe committed to it, whereas some people are able to work that. Have you got any tips for how to build a structure so as you're actually able to work well on a daily basis as well?
Yeah, definitely. So I think obviously sometimes as a freelancer you'll have really high volumes of work and then low volumes as an entrepreneur as well, and maybe as a remote worker as well, whatever. So you have your set number of hours that you want to work. So if you're a freelancer or an entrepreneur, you obviously have to make this yourself, or obviously your clients, how much, if you're charging per hour, is kind of made for you. Yeah. But essentially having this number of hours that you need to work. As a remote worker, obviously it's probably really set in stone, but being that I've been a freelancer and entrepreneur, for me, I had more control over that number. So it was almost to the point where a couple of years ago, I almost suffered burnout. I was just really at the point, I was working 10-hour days. I was like, okay, whoa, this is not this lifestyle. This is not what this is supposed to be. I'm overworking. This is like really on the cusp of everything. So yeah, from there, I kind of was really aware of how much it is important to understand how much you're working. So first thing is like, I've been doing this for the last 7 years, is I always track all my time. So even this podcast right now, I'm tracking it as time that I'm dedicating to work. So having this set number. So I right now have 6 hours generally that I work a day, which seems like not your average 8-hour work week, but when you're working remotely and when you're like actually focused on the work that you're doing and not getting distracted by Instagram, this and that. And, I sometimes tap out after 6 hours, but then of course, some days I'll work like 9 hours, 10 hours because I'm really in the zone and I'm really like, okay, I want to be working this. But just having that number of hours, it's super important because then you don't feel bad about taking the time off. You actually feel good because you know that you worked X amount of hours this week. Or sometimes if you are a little bit less busy and you are in a new place and you want to travel, you want to explore, I would suggest, for me, like I was really happy with always having at least 3 hours in the morning of work and like really focused work. And then if I'm with family or something, maybe I won't be working those 6 hours every day because I value spending time more with my family. So, and then I would be like, at least I get those 3 hours, even if I have to wake up at 5 a.m., at least I get those 3 hours kind of thing. Because then I'm a lot more relaxed because I'm not preoccupied with thinking about work. So kind of finding that number that works for you, tracking your time, and then knowing that if you worked X amount of hours per week, then you really deserve to take that time off, and then you don't have to be preoccupied about work and being like, oh no, did I do this? Did I do that? It really helps.
Nice way. It's a nice balance there, and I like what you said about maybe doing a few hours in the morning first, just to get that time locked in when you've got that focus, and then maybe you can enjoy parts the rest of your day, or you can work later at night or have the afternoon, or that flexibility. But like you said, you've got to hold yourself to account that you've done the work and done the hours, because at the end of the day, you need to be doing a high quality job, but also make sure that you can still keep sustaining this lifestyle as well. I'm interested because final question before we go on to a rapid fire round, which is good, but clearly digital nomad, working remotely, it's getting easier now worldwide to do it from wherever. But are there any cities worldwide which you say are like really set up for digital nomads to start off with? Are there places where there's hubs? Are there places which for economic reasons they're better? Are there reasons for social reasons that they're better? I'm just interested to know, like, if there was maybe 4 or 5 great places in the world I could go to work remotely, where would you say would be like hotspots that I should maybe check out?
Yeah, it obviously depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for really kind of isolated nature, that's one thing. If you're looking for a city, it's a different thing. I was just recently in Medellin in Colombia. That's known as like the Mecca of digital nomads in Latin America. And I agree, it was really great. There was networking events at the WeWork there. There was countless cafes where you can pull out your laptop, and it was totally normal and even encouraged. So it was great. And so that was a really great place. And in like most places in Europe, I mean, some countries obviously are not actually that digital nomad friendly. Like the cafes in Vienna, let's say, are not very great to work from.
Yeah.
Pardon?
But they just be saying "get out" as you're there, like in some classic
Yeah.
brasserie style kind of coffee house in Vienna or something.
Yeah, exactly. So some places aren't. I mean, Spain, I go there often. I really enjoy it, and they have a lot of great places. So I would say Spain is great because you could also be in a brand that we're collaborating with is Floasis, and they are kind of like an Airbnb for stays for remote workers, co-living, co-working stays, and they have some stays in Spain as well. So you can go maybe to one of those and be secluded in nature, but still have the co-working atmosphere, where you can then be in any kind of type of Spanish city, and there's tons of cafes as well. These are just based on my experience. I haven't traveled Asia that much actually, so I'm not going to say Bali because I haven't been.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a real true digital nomad if I haven't been.
One day though. That's it. But I think, again, I hear, obviously, yeah, you say like Bali, the whole Indonesia area is quite hot for that. Believe the Philippines is. Thailand obviously is a big place for digital nomads, in terms of those spaces. But I guess maybe as their economies pick up as well, probably it's less appealing. You probably want to go somewhere super cheap as well. Like I use India as an example. Like as Wi-Fi has got much better and quicker. If I wanted to start a business anyway, like you said, if I needed 3 to 6 months of cash basically to see me going, maybe going somewhere that's a much, much cheaper country is a good way to get started while you're building those first clients. Then maybe when you've got a regular pipeline of work, then maybe you can move on. I mean, that might be a good way, you think?
Yeah, definitely. And from my experience, I was traveling a lot of different places. So I've worked in like very kind of unconventional spots as a digital nomad. And also that was fun. It was part of the experience as well. So it depends, but yeah, I think a lot of people find value in having that kind of community again. So maybe Bali offers a lot of events and networking and stuff like that. So that's definitely a huge asset. I know that in Medellin, I experienced that, and I thought that was really cool. But if you're kind of doing your thing and maybe you want to be in nature, then it doesn't really matter where. If you're with your like somebody, a friend, your significant other, even if you're with like your family, if you have kids, whatever, you can also find a beautiful house in nature and get a good remote work setup there. If you're working in cafes, I prefer cafes. Well, actually, it depends. It depends on the co-workings. Like I've done a lot of co-workings too and cafes, but I used to do a lot more cafes because co-workings weren't so popular. In addition to that, I was never in a place where I can actually pay a monthly membership for co-working because I would be traveling too much. But yeah, so it really depends what you're looking for. But yeah, from where I've been, I mean, even when I was in India, there were some places. Even in Morocco, there were some places. I think you see people pulling out their laptops more and more kind of everywhere now. So it's becoming a lot more common.
And it should be. And I say I'm all for that as well. I think it sounds like an ideal dream lifestyle as well. So sign me up. Right, Christina, well, this is all amazing. And we're now going into a rapid fire round where we get your top tips and, motivations to, like keep it all together. So feel free to give a little bit of context if you want. But I'm interested to know who your favorite entrepreneurs are in life, and why.
Good question. In terms of kind of quick motivation, I mean, this is a pretty classic answer, but Gary Vee is like pretty high energy. He's pretty experimental. I really like that part of him, how he's just like tries so much, and kind of as an entrepreneur, you have to experiment, you have to put things out there, and you have to just like kind of have this attitude to just go, just to do things, but always be positive as well. So those are like the key main things I take from him.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I mean, kind of more of like a humble approach with maybe Tim Ferriss. Let's say he's a little bit more like talks just about, he has like a lot of content that he puts out about different things as well, and just more like thought provoking in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So also, and maybe a bit more like, just like thinking about a lot of different, a wider range of topics in a sense. So a combination of those. They're pretty classic answers, but
no, that's great. I mean, they do come up time and time again, but for a good reason, because obviously, there is so many great tips and resources and guests. You can see the Tim Ferriss books behind here on the bookshelf. It's there's always something you can learn, and seeing from how other people have done it. I think the more people you learn from and how they've done it, the maybe less mistakes you'll make doing it yourself, or maybe not call them mistakes, but again, you'll learn about how to do things in a different way, really, or ways to cope on a daily basis, or like knowing that there isn't a route to success on day one. It might take you 100 days to get that first sale, but it is going to come at some point if you put the work in as well. Exactly. This could be anybody from the world of business or outside, but who's your most inspiring person in life, and why?
I mean, it depends. I think something that really changed my life was reading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. So that inspired me to live my life completely different. So that was something, and that book is about kind of spirituality, and it's not about business at all. It's about,
no, that's cool. I mean, look, we mentioned these books because there's all sorts come up in this. So yeah, whatever you think is great.
Yeah, but that was definitely maybe one of the most life-changing books that I read. Maybe it was a time that I read it in my life and everything, but that definitely just changed my whole view of everything. So personally, that would be something that had inspired me to live differently, and view the world differently.
Brilliant. And in terms of business books and online resources, like obviously you said it's been a year-long journey to get to where Rise Remotely is, starting to take off. Were there many books, like specific books that you really referred to, or websites or anything that you went, wow, this is pure gold, that might be translatable to other industries or other people who really want to start their own thing?
At that point, when I was kind of building Rise Remotely, it was a little bit more busy than when I launched. I feel like when I launched it was still obviously busy and leads were coming in then, and it was like, but I was prepared to deal with it. It was more stressful, like being in that uncertain stage, being like, is this going to be a business? Am I going to be able to launch this? Am I going to be able to build a team? So in that moment, it was more stressful. And I actually wish I had access to a lot more books, but I was in Ecuador and Amazon doesn't ship to Ecuador, and I'm like very careful about my screen time. So I didn't want to read anything on the screen. And I was like searching for books, posting in Facebook groups, everything, but I couldn't find that much. But at that point also, I was kind of just like, if I can just do my yoga flow and do some meditation, that was enough for me, because I was like so busy with actually doing the work with everything. But in terms of kind of business resources, I don't search Google for how to do something, how to, I don't know, like do anything in like digital marketing or whatever, like for learning new things. I don't search Google anymore. I search, it's a Google Chrome plugin called Zest.
Okay.
and it's just curated articles mainly based on digital marketing, but also now they're expanding into like remote work, into other kind of interesting topics as well. And there you just get, that it's better quality. So you're not wasting time on Google going through like blogs that have great SEO, but maybe really basic content. So yeah, that's a really good resource that I liked for understanding, kind of learning more about how to do things, mainly in digital marketing, and also learning just things about remote work, the industry, because it's changing so much. So you have to really keep on top of it as well.
Well, that's great because, Zest hasn't come up as one of the recommendations, and, all of this goes into our entrepreneur library of recommendations. So this is really helpful. We're not one to look back on the Go Solo show, but, like if there was something which maybe you could do differently when you spent this last year building, and doing everything, like, what would you do differently again if you just gone, oh, actually, maybe I went down a rabbit hole to do that, or it took too much time, or I just wish it hadn't, I hadn't have done that. Well, what would one thing you would maybe do differently?
I think I did literally everything myself. I built the platform, I sent out all the contracts, I created the contracts, I sourced the team, I onboarded the team, I did the social media, like I did literally everything, which was my biggest downfall. But also I wanted, like, because it was my brand, I wanted to have control over everything. And I just didn't really have the time to look for a co-founder or anything like that. And I didn't know really, I was like, I wanted to kind of establish the company a little bit more before I went down that route anyways. So it was definitely a good thing that, I felt really good being in control of everything, being able to have this ideation. And if I had an idea for the company, like the community for Rise Remotely, for example, I could execute it fast and do it the way that I wanted to. And that was great. But it was also a downfall because I was like spending so much time, reading contracts. I signed contracts with different names on it by accident because I was just like was doing so much. So that was definitely a big downfall. So I think executing like delegating the small tasks that you don't want to do, that's definitely important. I also was 100% bootstrapped, like creating this as well. So that was something that was holding me back. And then I got like a small amount of funding now. So that also gives me a little bit more room to delegate different tasks to people. So now I can focus
on
actually
funding equity funding, or is it a business loan, or?
It's a loan from family and friends. So first stage is very small, and then hopefully growing more.
Hopefully it gives you the rocket power you need to take it where it needs to go to as well. Where do you source most of your leads from now? You don't need to give me a full digital marketing plan, but I'm just interested in terms of, for people who are interested in, Rise Remotely or whatever, where do you actually attract these people? What's the best funnel for you?
So our Instagram is actually very small, being that I've been in the last 4 months trying to hire somebody good, but being that I'm a social media manager myself, it's very difficult. But at the same time, it also just super time consuming to hire somebody. But we have a lot of leads kind of coming from Instagram, a lot of brand collaborations also that I've set up as well. So I'm on other companies' websites and affiliate programs. So like they have affiliate codes for Rise Remotely. So that brings in some leads as well. Right now, we're all set up for really organic marketing because, at a later stage, I'm definitely going to go into paid, but that's something that also just based on the fact that we have freedom in our website and everything. Sometimes Facebook doesn't like that. So now we have to depend on Google and everything. So mainly I wanted to really get a strong organic marketing strategy going first, because that's also how you build thought leadership. That's also how you really build a great identity for your brand. So we're really focused on that at the moment. But even through Instagram is our main channel of social. It's very small right now, but we actually get a surprising amount of leads from it, being that it's so small.
I guess they're quite highly qualified leads if they're very relevant, they know exactly what you do from Instagram and your website, if they come through that way as well.
Yeah, so they generally come from Instagram or maybe a referral from a different website that we have affiliate with, and then they would sign up generally for a freebie, or yeah, they would sign up for a freebie, and then from there they would either book a call, or sometimes they just come and book a call directly. Maybe also there's been some people have told me there's been some things with podcasts. I've done quite a few podcasts and kind of cross promotion interviews and guest writing, things like that. So like I said, super organic strategies.
I mean, I think as well, you say affiliate referral schemes, they're one of the best ways for organic growth as well. What do you use, a specific affiliate program or a Zap or something? Like what kind of thing do you do to be able to put a customized affiliate scheme together so as you can, like you said, plug into other websites?
Yeah, so at the moment we're very, very basic, using coupon codes. But yeah, that's something that I would like to expand more a little bit once we get that up and running a bit more. But it wasn't my biggest priority because, I found something that worked. So I said, okay, let's do this and actually just build the affiliate list. And then once that's bringing in a decent amount of money, then we go and actually really fine tune it and make it working really well. But yeah, for the moment, it's a basic one.
Excellent. And you mentioned work life. Well, obviously you mentioned yoga and meditation. Is there any other stuff that you put in to have a strong work life balance? It seems like you've kind of got it right with your 6 hours, your 9 hours, you're traveling the world. But like how do you respond to stress or whatever? Are the things which you have every day that really do help support your being a founder?
Yeah, I think having, a friend group is super important, and just having a few friends that will always say that they're proud of you and that, you're doing well, like that actually goes a long way when you're in your low points. That's really nice to hear. Having, I prefer yoga, meditation, or even going on a walk in nature, or getting out in nature, going hiking, going surfing if I'm somewhere where I can go surfing, just any kind of one of my hobbies. Those are my hobbies. But having something there that you can go back to, possibly a practice. If it could be cooking, I also really enjoy cooking. Like sometimes if I'm like really stressed, I'll just make a bunch of I'll bake a bunch of like healthy sweets and stuff, and just be like, this feels good. This is what I'm
totally
doing now.
unrelated to work as well.
Yeah, exactly. So just having a few options of things that you can do that just take your mind off things, that that remind you that life is still life. It's not all revolved around your business. You if you can't take some time off and cook something or go for a walk without thinking of your business, then there's actually a red flag. So you need to address that. So being able to really separate that mentally is important. And it can be like the smallest little things, like I said, like baking, but having those things really helps as well. But what I go through with all of my clients in mentoring is, really being able to structure your time and having those hours and having those to-do lists and everything. So once you have all of that as well, generally you free up time naturally. But sometimes, you're really stressed, and that's when those hobbies, and that's when that support group really comes in.
Brilliant. And in terms of, as an entrepreneur, what do you think success ultimately means to you as a person?
I think that it means, waking up every day and having a day that you enjoy, being able to be around people that you enjoy, doing things that you enjoy. It's not monetary for me, but of course, money plays a role because it makes you comfortable. It makes you be able to have, a nice place where you can see the ocean or something like that, whatever. But yeah, just day to day, if you're enjoying every day, that I think is successful.
Brilliant. And to be quite honest, that's the most important thing. Plus, to sign me up for the sea view as well, the ocean view.
Right.
Sounds dreamy.
Surfboard, and
Yeah, definitely. That does sound like where I need to be right now. For those people out there who are maybe, thinking of taking the plunge to set up a business or become a digital nomad or whatever, what advice would you give to them?
I think that right now is, even if you are still in your job and you feel like it's hard to exit, or you don't think that traveling is going to go back to normal, whatever. There's maybe a lot of uncertainties right now because of the pandemic, or just in general because of where you are. Being taking this time and making your ideal future, planning out your ideal future, like thinking and feeling what it's going to be like, and going to sleep every night and having that in your head, and then slowly putting together reasons why it can work for you. So you have this like set up digital nomad lifestyle in your head and thinking, okay, why is this going to work with me for me? Okay, I'm taking the first step doing this. I'm taking now another step doing this. I'm taking another step. And then you're going to start making the moves and also fully convincing yourself that it's real. And then sooner or later, you'll have it.
Brilliant. Sounds good to me. And say I bump into you in a few years' time, hopefully I'll see you somewhere else on the digital nomad trail. Where would be your vision in 3 or 4 years' time about where you want to take the business? No.
I definitely, I would love to grow it to the point where we are helping a lot of people transition. I think that, for me, the biggest motivation is that I already filled my cup up with these amazing experiences, what this location independent lifestyle gave me. So I want to help as many people as I can do the same. So being able to have a big customer base, of course, and having that extra kind of like room to then even give back. There's a lot of like good social causes as well. Being able to do that, being able just to like, have enough of growth, so we can really focus on good values.
Amazing. Sounds good to me. Right. Final question for you, Christina, you'd be pleased to know, is where can everybody get in touch with you? Where do you want to point people to? Your social, your website? Where can people find you online?
If you are interested in Rise Remotely, the website is riseremotely.com. All of our social is Rise Remotely. I made it easy for you. My personal website, if you are interested in freelancing, in one-on-one mentoring, is christinavoll.com.
Yeah.
And my Instagram is Christina Voll XO. I'm going to change that at one point, but that's what it is now. And that's basically where you can get in touch with me.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to link to these as well on our YouTube channel as well. And again, this will be going out in one of our newsletters. So very, very exciting. And I'm sure obviously be very popular with everybody who listens and watches the Go Solo show as well. That just leaves me today, Christina from Rise Remotely. I just want to say thanks for joining us on the Go Solo show today. Many, great wishes and returns for obviously, future business success. And hopefully we'll catch up soon. Cheers. Take care.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. See you.